Tonight at 10, the Taliban intensifies its offensive across Afghanistan, threatening to seize major cities, including the capital of Helmand province. In Lashkar, where British troops were once in control, now it's the Taliban on the streets. With most US-led foreign troops leaving next month, the fear is Afghan government forces could be overrun. Also tonight.
He needs to up into the dismount with the pirouette. Well, Max Whitlock!
More gold for Team GB at the Olympics with Max Whitlock on the pommel horse, and Charlotte Worthington soaring to victory in the BMX freestyle.
It's kind of unreal. I'm waiting to wake up, mate. I've been dreaming about this for 4 years, and it still feels like I'm dreaming 4 years ago, so I'm kind of waiting to wake up.
This could well be Italy's gold medal. It is!
And shock in the men's 100 metres with the first ever Olympic gold for Italy. Fast food discounts when you're jabbed as the government tries to persuade young people to get vaccinated. And sliding all over the place in Formula One at the Hungarian Grand Prix. Good evening. The Taliban has intensified its nationwide offensive across Afghanistan, threatening to seize 3 major cities, including the provincial capital of Helmand province, where British forces had for several years provided security. Afghan government troops have been struggling to contain the militants after the announcement that most of the US-led foreign forces in the country would be leaving next month. 455 British military personnel died in Afghanistan, along with tens of thousands of Afghans. The Taliban is on the verge of overrunning the city of Lashkar in the south, and there's fierce fighting in Kandahar and Herat in the west. Our chief international correspondent, Lise Doucette, has the very latest from the capital, Kabul.
Lashkar, Helmand, the peace roundabout, now overrun by Taliban. They say this square is theirs. The centre of a city once patrolled for years by British troops. Afghan special forces, trained by Britain and other NATO armies, are rushing in. This video is from the Afghan Ministry of Defence. The battle intensifies on the ground and on social media. 35-year-old General Sami Sadat is the commanding officer in this southern area. He says the Taliban have suffered hundreds and hundreds of losses, but his forces have lost most rural areas. It's much the same across Afghanistan. Now the Taliban are bent on seizing the cities. This war is being waged street to street. On one of them, the family of Jamal Barak, a former interpreter for the British Army, now in the UK.
People are stuck at their homes. They cannot go outside. There's no electricity. There's no food. People will die without food, without water. And the Taliban literally walking the streets and looking for the people who have worked for the Afghan government and for the British government, and we haven't heard anything positive from the British government at the moment, and we are hoping that they will do something very soon. Otherwise, these people are going to lose their life.
All the beds are full at this hospital in Helmand, run by the emergency NGO. More beds being brought in. Hundreds of thousands are on the run. Look at the way these children are moving across the fields in the western province of Herat. The crackle of gunfire, all too close. But civilians are also standing their ground. This man is said to be the head of Herat's provincial council. Don't waste your bullets, he says. Take careful aim. And old warlords are back too to take on the Taliban. White-bearded Commander Ismail Khan fought Soviet forces in the 80s, Taliban in the 90s. We're doing our best to suppress the enemy so they can't enter the city, he says. I call on the people to support us especially those who are armed, to resist the terrorists. But the Taliban are at their strongest since their defeat nearly 2 decades ago after the US-led invasion. It's a moment of reckoning for Afghan forces, a moment of risk for the very future of Afghanistan.
Lise Doucette reporting for us there from Kabul. Now at the Olympics, it's been another triumphant day for Team GB in Tokyo. There was gold for the gymnast Max Whitlock, successfully defending his Olympic title on the pommel horse. Charlotte Worthington also took gold with a breathtaking performance in the women's BMX freestyle, while there was more success for the swimmer Duncan Scott, who won a 4th medal in the pool. Our sports correspondent Natalie Perks has all the very latest from Tokyo. A warning, her report contains flashing images.
Charlotte Worthington is in the mix here today.
They say go big or go home. Charlotte Worthington opted to defy gravity instead.
She's got it! She's got it! She smashed it!
But that was the first time any woman had landed the 360 backflip in competition, but the tricks didn't end the They knew the score would be big.
97.5! It's a huge score!
Worthington had backflipped her way to gold. And moments later, teammate Declan Brooks won bronze in the men's event just weeks after he was knocked unconscious at the World Championships. In 2017, Worthington was still a chef in a Mexican restaurant. She's now the first ever freestyle Olympic champion.
How is this medal going to change your life, do you think?
I have no idea. I'd like to think that I'll never be working in a kitchen again. And I'm just going to embrace being a full-time athlete because I've absolutely loved this journey so far, and I just want it to continue.
A hugely successful games for BMX then. 4 events, 4 first-time Olympians, 4 medals. It's clear new stars are emerging here, but what about the established ones? Here at the gymnastics, Max Whitlock was flying the flag for the old guard. 5 years to wait, just 40 seconds to execute.
He's got to extend the body.
The reigning pommel horse champion hadn't looked his usual self in qualifying. He was also up first.
That builds the difficulty.
But when it mattered, Whitlock pulled out his toughest routine, turned on the style and piled the pressure on everyone else.
Up into the dismount with the pirouette. Well, Max Whitlock, you could not have performed that routine any better. It's almost in the hands of the gods. It's a huge score.
7 others came and went. No one could get close to him.
Max Whitlock is still the Olympic champion.
His 6th Olympic medal, his 3rd gold, and the first British gymnast to defend an Olympic title. Back home, wife Leah, daughter Willow and his family could finally celebrate.
Well done, Dad.
Well done, Dad!
This was probably the most pressured environment that I've ever been in. Team GB have been doing absolutely incredible. The gold medals have been flowing in, and I just wanted to do the same thing and to come out here and get my own. I feel very proud.
And there was also success again in the pool. Silver in the men's 4x100 metre medley relay capped British swimming's most successful Olympics in history with 8 medals. Duncan Scott brought the team home to become the first British athlete in any sport to win 4 medals at a single Games. In Japan, we've met the new stars of Team GB, but we still cherish the old. Both have delivered. Both have gold. Natalie Perks, BBC News, Tokyo.
And our apologies for some of the sound problems on that report. Italy has won its first ever gold medal in the men's 100 metres with a surprise victory for Lamont Marcel Jacobs. But there was frustration for Team GB's Zarnell Hughes, the first British man to reach a 100 metres final since Sydney in 2000. He was disqualified after a false start. Here's our sports editor, Dan Rowan.
Empty seats, but one of the most watched events in world sport. The men's 100-metre final remains among the biggest moments of any Olympics. For the last 3 games, one man dominated.
The champion becomes a legend.
But after Usain Bolt's retirement, who would now follow in the fastest of footsteps?
Zarnell Hughes.
Britain had their first finalist since Sydney 2000.
Oh no, Zarnell Hughes, no. Oh.
but Zarnell Hughes' race was over before it began, disqualified for a false start. At the second attempt, however, the most open men's final in years could begin.
Curley gets a very good start, and Subik Chand gets left in the blocks this time, and also Jacobs is going very well, but it's Jacobs over on the far side. This could well be Italy's gold medal. It is! Italy take the gold!
Lamont Marcel Jacobs' shock victory, the first by a European in this event since 1992. The most unlikely of successors to Bolt had been crowned.
Well, what a moment this is in a sport dominated by one man for so long. Track and field tonight finally has a new star. Jacobs' remarkable victory representing a tearing up of the established order in Olympic sprinting.
It's amazing, fantastic. It's a gold medal. It's forever. A gold medal is forever in my home, and I'm very happy.
A devastated Hughes, meanwhile, telling me what happened.
My left calf cramped up on me. When I went to my set position, it just cramped and I couldn't hold back. I just ended up moving. I know for a fact if I was in that race, I would have gotten the medal. There's no doubt about it.
As recently as 3 years ago, Jacobs was a long jumper, his switch proving to be one of the most inspired in sporting history. Dan Rowan, BBC News, Tokyo.
In other news from the Games, a Belarusian sprinter has accused her country of trying to forcibly repatriate her for criticising her coaches. Kristina Semenuskaya says she was taken to the airport in Tokyo against her will and asked the International Olympic Committee for help. She subsequently said she was safe and under police protection. The American swimmer Caleb Dressel is being celebrated as one of the greatest ever Olympians after winning 5 gold medals in his 6 events. Today, he set a new Olympic record in the men's 50 metres freestyle. Yulimar Rojas of Venezuela broke the world record in the women's triple jump, which had stood since 1995. She'd already secured the gold medal when she claimed the new record with her final jump. And 2 athletes agreed to share the gold medal in the men's high jump after a thrilling 2-hour contest. Qatar's Mutaz Issa Bashim and Italy's Gianmarco Tamberi couldn't be separated after completing their rounds and chose instead to share gold rather than have a jump-off. And Team GB is now currently 6th in the medal table with 32 in all, 10 of them gold. Let's return to Tokyo, and Dan Rowan is there. Dan, we're at the halfway stage of the Games. How would you sum up how well they've been going?
Well, Clive, it's been a fascinating weekend, hasn't it? Packed full of sporting drama and no little controversy as well. You know, I think coming into these Olympics, organisers will have been hoping and expecting perhaps for established household names like Simone Biles and Naomi Osaka, perhaps Trayvon Bromell and maybe even Dina Asher-Smith as well to provide some of the key performances. Now, for a variety of reasons, they've been prevented from doing so. But instead, you have, as Natalie said there a couple of minutes ago, new stars like Lamont Marcel Jacobs, new names like Charlotte Worthington in new sports, such as the BMX freestyle, and in new formats such as the mixed gender events, which have really caught the imagination here in Tokyo. One of the other big themes coming into these Olympics, of course, was that of athlete welfare, connected with the conditions that competitors would face here, the restrictions on freedom of expression, mental health issues as well. Of course, perhaps what the IOC hadn't been expecting is for there to have been an alleged attempted kidnap drama. For that is what they are now dealing with, as you say, the issues surrounding Kristina Simonskaya, the Belarusian sprinter. It'll be fascinating to see how they handle that in the coming hours and days. She is due to race in the 200 metres later on today, and it's a case that has highlighted the treatment of athletes in the Belarus, under Lukashenko in Belarus. There has been protests, of course, last year since those elections, and some athletes have faced reprisals. In fact, Lukashenko and his son, who heads up the Olympic Committee, are both banned by the IOC currently from attending these games. More intrigue later, by the way, when New Zealand weightlifter Laurel Hubbard competes, and in doing so becomes, for the first time, the first openly transgender athlete to compete in a gender category different from that to which she was born. And in doing so, she will find herself right at the very centre of what's become a very divisive transgender debate in sport. OK, Dan, thank you for that. Dan Rowan there, live in Tokyo.
Now, the latest government COVID figures show there were 24,470 new coronavirus cases in the latest 24-hour period, a slight fall on the previous day. That means on average there were 26,793 new infections a day in the last 7 days. 65 deaths were recorded in the latest 24 hours. That's an average of 75 deaths a day in the past week. The most recent figures show just under 6,000 people are in hospital with COVID-19. More than 88% of UK adults have now had their first jab, while more than 72% are now fully vaccinated. And young people in England are to be offered incentives, including discounts from Uber and Deliveroo to get their COVID-19 vaccinations. Further inducements could involve restaurants and cafes. Just over 2/3 of 18 to 29-year-olds have had a first jab. With more, here's our political correspondent Nick Eardley. His report contains some flashing images.
Would a free meal or journey encourage you to get a COVID jab? Ministers hope so, announcing today incentives for people to get vaccinated, discounts on takeaways and money off cab journeys. In East London, at what was billed as a vaccine festival, organisers are hoping free meals and music will encourage people along.
Everybody loves a freebie, don't they? By all means, you can come on down and get the vaccination. You don't have to pick up any free food, but we just want to make you feel at home.
For those here today, the incentives were only part of the reason.
I got a text message and also a leaflet that said that they were doing this, and they even gave a token for free food. Why not? It was like a really good idea.
I think more people will come across when they see the tent just outside their house, and of course the free food is always a bonus as well.
This is why there's a focus on young people. These lines show uptake among older people in England, but these lines show it among people under 30, and it's much lower. Ministers want it to be considerably higher by the end of summer. One government advisor, though, thinks there needs to be more focus on the health benefits of vaccines.
Giving people incentives is not the answer. I mean, it can increase the rates, but I think the thing that we're lacking at the moment is a very, very clear public information campaign so that young people see the benefits and can compare those with the risks.
Governments across the world have been trying out ways to encourage vaccine uptake. American President Joe Biden wants states to offer $100 to people who get the jab.
Welcome back, everyone!
But we've also seen warnings at home that people won't be able to get into nightclubs and other venues in England without a vaccine certificate from the end of September. The government is increasingly adopting a carrot and stick approach to getting young people vaccinated. Ministers have made clear that getting back to something like normal life will be easier if you've had the vaccine, from going on holiday to going clubbing. But these schemes are supposed to provide encouragement too, and the government's hoping that many other incentives can be announced in the coming weeks. The success of the vaccine rollout has been key to reopening society. Ministers want to keep it going and are willing to try different ways to make that happen. Nick Eardley, BBC News.
A 39-year-old man, a 30-year-old woman and a 13-year-old boy have been arrested on suspicion of murder following the death of a 5-year-old in Bridgend. The body of the child was found in the Ogmore River in the early hours of yesterday morning. Police say they're not looking for anyone else in relation to the incident. Britain says it's highly likely Iran carried out an attack on an oil tanker off the coast of Oman, in which 2 people on board died. One of the victims was British. The tanker, the MV Mercer Street, operated by an Israeli-owned firm, was attacked on Thursday. Thousands of people have fled their homes in southern Turkey, where wildfires continue to burn. At least 6 people have died and hundreds have been injured. Parts of the tourist city of Bodrum, including several hotels, have been evacuated. Angus Crawford has the very latest.
Clouds of smoke and flame behind them. The sea their only escape. Locals and holidaymakers queued for boats to take them away from parts of the holiday resort of Bodrum in the southwest of Turkey. Wildfires, which started 5 days ago, burned their way through hillsides towards the city. In less than a week, more than 100 forest fires have broken out across the country. Local teams, but also those from Iran, Russia and Ukraine deployed to tackle them, fighting on the ground and from the air. This man said his home was almost overwhelmed.
The fire started 400 meters from here and it took only 5 minutes to reach us. Everybody here was crying and screaming for help. We haven't slept the past 3 days.
The country's been hit by record high temperatures and numbers of wildfires this summer. Signs of climate change, warn experts, which demand urgent action. President Erdogan, here visiting one affected area, has been criticised for not doing enough to prepare the emergency services. And the hot weather is set to continue. Tomorrow in the south hitting 40 degrees Celsius. With bone-dry forests and no prospect of rain, this summer of fire may not yet be over. Angus Crawford, BBC News.
It was a thrilling Formula One Hungarian Grand Prix with Lewis Hamilton battling his way to the podium from last place. But France's Esteban Ocon clinched victory with a surprise win. Our sports correspondent Joe Wilson has the details.
Formula One simmered in the Hungarian rain. What could possibly happen next? Hold on. Lewis Hamilton's black Mercedes proceeded, but behind him, chaos. Revisit the start with Valtteri Bottas in the other Mercedes. His mistake. The knock-on effect of that collision, both Red Bull cars were hit. Remember, indignation already raged between those teams. Max Verstappen's Red Bull was frantically repaired, and the track dried, and the race restarted, and the next drama. Lewis Hamilton changed his tyres after everyone else, found himself at the back.
Thanks for watching. Stay safe. Bye-bye.
Max Verstappen in his patched-up car got to 10th, but there was Lewis Hamilton overtaking into 4th. Keep going, urged the team, and Hamilton squeezed past the red Ferrari of Carlos Sainz. The race was won surreally and memorably by Esteban Ocon, but Hamilton's third place put him back in the lead in the championship, and he was promoted further hours later when Sebastian Vettel was stripped of his second place because he finished without sufficient fuel. That enough? That was the Hungarian Grand Prix. Joe Wilson, BBC News.
And that's it. There's more throughout the evening on the BBC News channel, but now on BBC One. Time for the news where you are. Have a very good night.